Afternoon, everybody, and thanks for coming along. My name is Nick Lamidey. I'm one of the directors of Microsoft Computer Group in the UK. I've got a bit of a double act going with Jamie. Jamie will introduce himself in a second. We're going to talk about kind of a strategy for enterprise mobility. I think because we've got a nice kind of intimate number of people, hopefully we can have a bit of interaction. It won't be us just presenting to you for the hour, so it'd be great to get a bit of interaction going on. So I'm just going to go through the agenda if I get in range. Oh, then get the first. There we go. So I was going to go through a few slides really looking at, I guess, the problem space we're trying to solve here, and kind of get some thoughts from yourselves in terms of these are the sort of things that you're seeing, it's the sort of things that we hear from our customers and from analysts, but it's great to get a bit of view whether these are the sort of things that you're facing. Then really talk a bit about who we are, how we can help, how we do help organisations address some of these challenges. And then look about, as kind of the title suggests, really looking at how we can take a strategic approach to this problem, because there is kind of no silver bullet that's going to solve this challenge. So we're going to talk a bit about how we kind of can help put a strategy in place to address all these challenges. Then introduce the technology that we use to underpin our solutions. You know, we're a services business and managed service provider, so we need great technology, and that's where the Microsoft Enterprise Mobility Suite comes in. And then talk about a couple of customer case studies as well. It's always good to hear, I guess, for yourselves, customers, and how you help them do it. So I'll talk about a couple of examples there, and then some kind of next steps. But as I say, please get vocal, get involved. We've got a nice intimate audience in order to do that. So I think if this continues, Jamie, I'll let you, there we go, introduce yourself.
Might as well plug in the picture as well. So hello everyone, I'm Jamie Burgess, I run the Enterprise Mobility team in the UK. And a couple of things I wanted to cover really today was, first of all, why am I here? So Nick mentioned they were doing an OCG presentation here at this event, and I literally jumped at the chance to come and present here with Nick. We've got some really important strategies we're going through Microsoft. One is a set of partners that we're working with, which I'll cover in a second. The second one is the Enterprise Mobility Suite, which kind of is the reason of my being at the moment at Microsoft. And I think, given that a lot of people ask me to stack rank Microsoft partners, and I can never do it, but what I can talk about is how we work with our partners, and certainly talk about a safe pair of hands. And a safe pair of hands is really important when you think about an organisation that has to understand, first of all, the legacy infrastructure a customer has, the current infrastructure, and what their business kind of objectives are, of what the next steps look like, and also then the access to the latest and upcoming and future materials from Microsoft. So OCG are part of our Red Carpet programme within our EMS capabilities, and we've been working together probably now for about 6 months on that programme, and going back before that quite a while. But why is EMS important to us? So we're going to cover some of the technology capabilities a bit in a second, and why it's important to you guys. But for us and Microsoft, we understand that a lot of people are now going through that cloud journey and understanding and demystifying some of that transition, what it looks like, how they manage it. People are very specific and emotive about the device of their choice. We understand that, and that's an important part. Is we understand there is a choice out there, and one of the things you won't hear from Microsoft is that we're going to force you to take a certain device. It's about understanding what you users do as a day job and giving them the tools they need to do their bit. So we understand that journey, we understand the transition. We're here to try and help that journey, understanding your security, your data, and the devices, and how that all fits into your transition.
Okay, great. So I guess I just wanted to kind of throw this slide, as I said earlier, I want to get a sense of whether what we're hearing from our customers is the same things that you're facing on a daily basis, and what kind of analysts are telling us as well. So some kind of stats here, and you saw some, I guess, this morning with Forrester as well. But we're seeing, the vast majority of employees are using their own devices in the workplace. Is this something that you see in your role? Is this something you guys do? Would that stat surprise you?
Seems very high.
Seems very high. Okay. Okay, it's interesting. Now we see, a lot of people as well are often working away from their desk as well. No longer do you have I've got one PC, I'm attached to a desk, and that's kind of where I do my work. So again, that's an increasing trend. And we're also seeing that a lot of new applications are being developed, cloud applications. So a lot of software spending is around cloud applications. Again, it's this kind of things that would surprise you, or just what you see in your organisations? Okay, great.
So, quick show of hands. Who's running an iPad? Yeah, who's got one? Don't worry, there's not Microsoft snipers outside. How many of those are corporate? Keep your hands up, sorry. Keep your hands raised if they're corporately issued devices. Okay, so 2 out of them. So that's a good example I'm seeing in the field is actually how does, and I'll drop the acronym now, it's probably earlier than what I want to do, but TYDH is this acronym that I'm going to try and single-handedly get in some sort of Gartner Magic Quadrant. But effectively, it's understanding in a user's free time, what device are they using? When they're at home watching the football, or they're putting their feet up, a glass of wine, a cup of tea, whatever it is, what device are they browsing the web, using their social media, maybe checking their corporate emails, checking their private emails? What device is that? If it's the corporate device, that's usually a good measure of an organisation's IT because they've allowed it, they've got security governance around it, and they can support it, and they provide the devices that the users are connected to and they love to be able to use as well.
Okay. And I guess this is kind of where everything is going. This is kind of the nirvana, the utopia, if you like. I mean, I'm not great with heights, but you kind of get the example that, we want to have a situation where people can work wherever they can. So on the side of the cliff is kind of maybe an extreme example, you kind of get the picture. We want people to be able to access from whatever device they choose. So it could be personal devices, it could be the device provided by the business. We want that kind of simple, easy user experience, that ability to authenticate and get access to applications in a nice, simple and easy way. But at the same time, we want to make sure all that corporate data and content is absolutely protected. So it's kind of giving you that freedom to do what you need to do when you want to do it, from wherever you want, but also having those controls in place. And that's kind of the area that, that's where we all want to go. That's kind of the nirvana, if you like. But of course, what's there to worry about in terms of actually achieving that? What are some of the risks? And here's some interesting stats that I pulled off recently. So one laptop is stolen every 53 seconds, so there'll be a few stolen in this session as I'm speaking here. 70 million smartphones each year are lost, and very few are actually recovered. Now that's kind of a global stat, and there's obviously consumer devices in there. But if we look at that from a corporate perspective, a growing number of company-issued devices and smartphones are stolen. And what we're seeing is that, yes, there's the cost of the device and all of that, but it's actually the vast majority of the cost of that lost device is actually the data breach. And that's something we need to avoid. So we kind of need this approach that is being able to protect, give access to users to do what we need them to do from anywhere at any time, but have that protection around the content, because if things get lost and stolen, we need to avoid that.
Can I get a quick show of hands? So who's within the IT or a group of their organisation? Hands up. Okay. Who actually has to follow the policies that you as IT set? Keep your hands up if you follow your own policies. Okay. So there's a few there. So part of the problem we have is IT set the policies, and other groups are the ones that are actually using the device, and there's a bit of disconnect there, understanding the policies they're implementing, and we, IT, can be local admins, we can deal with live, we can come and test devices, we have a bit of a playground. However, the reality is that we want to make that freedom, the use effectively on those corporately owned devices a lot simpler by utilising some of the things that we'll go through in a second.
Superb. So some of the common headaches that, again, we kind of see and we speak to people about, it'd be interesting to see, whether any of these resonate with you. It's not just the kind of bring your own device, it's actually managing corporate devices as well, and having a strategy that caters for both. So the ones that you want to issue to your organisation and your users, but also the ones that people bring in themselves. As I mentioned as well, as a user, we want that consistent user experience, irrespective of the device that we're accessing. We want this device independence. I've got a great situation now where I use things like OneDrive for Business, and I can access all of my files, irrespective of whether I'm on my phone, my iPad, a Surface, whatever it is, everything is there for me. I'm not tied to a specific device that's got that data on it. That's kind of what users are looking for.
That's your corporate solution, OneDrive.
Yeah, we use OneDrive for Business.
So there's two versions. One is OneDrive Free, which is the effectively consumer version. So I take a picture on my smartphone, whether it's an iPhone or a Android or a Windows phone, up it goes, and it synchronises my personal stuff. And I have OneDrive for Business, which is a little bit confusing, I appreciate, but actually it's SharePoint, effectively, with the OneDrive syncing mechanism that sits in the front. So one of the big investments, and I've seen a lot of organisations do, is does your organisation have a Q drive or an S drive or some sort of shared drive? Yeah. If yes, that data is either on device or on server somewhere. With OneDrive for Business, you simply move that S or Q shared drive, wherever it is, up into an Office 365 shared location, and then you can get access. That's the first step, getting access from anywhere on any device. And instead of sending you a document, because I have to, if it's offline, I have to send that whole document in an email, what I've got the ability to do is send a link to that document in email, and I can put governance and security around where that document resides.
That was my second question. Does the company then control it?
Yeah, that's part. And we can cover that in a bit more detail later, actually.
Fantastic. So again, it's all about making users productive. That's what we want, giving them the ability to access from anywhere, but also keeping a tight control over that corporate data. It's always been the security kind of paradox, I guess. We want our users to have access to whatever they need, but we really need to have that strong security policy in place as well, and how we kind of manage that. We've seen obviously a lot of organisations we talk to have got lots of different bits of technology, and how can we integrate all these different solutions so that we've got a management burden that is manageable? How can we administer lots of different SLAs from lots of different vendors, and of course all within a constrained budgetary world that we live in. So, you know, all of these things, you know, you as IT professionals, it all needs to be secure, it all needs to be available, and it all needs to be compliant with all the different regulatory pieces you have to deal with. So these are sort of things that you kind of see in your kind of daily life, in terms of these are kind of things that are, I guess, keeping you awake at night and having to face.
It'd be good to understand as well where everybody is on their cloud journey. So if we said, show of hands if you're on the thinking about cloud, put your hands up. Okay, if you are no cloud, put your hands up. Okay. No. And if you are on the transition, you're actually doing the implementation phase and you're starting to deploy and test, hands up. Couple, okay. And if you're actually in the cloud and learning and kind of adapting, building a plane in flight, your hands up. Okay, interesting. Okay, good.
Okay. So, kind of the OCG kind of approach, you know, we are, I guess, recognised as the enterprise ability experts. Fairly bold statement, I guess, so I'll kind of do my best to back it up. But really, we take this layered approach. So we look at the hybrid identity piece. So our pedigree, if you like, if you've come across this in the past, is very much around identity management. Really seen as the Microsoft experts. That's all that we did for a great amount of our history around identity, and actually having a single identity that you can manage across this whole brave new world is absolutely crucial. It's kind of the glue that hangs everything together. Without that, all of this is going to start kind of fall into pieces. But of course, we need to help you manage devices, and you've seen some presentations today. Vendors are looking at point solutions about how they manage devices. But again, as I say, you need this hybrid identity layer in place to actually make this all work. And of course, protecting the information whether it's in transit, whether it's actually on device, we want to be able to control, protect, and encrypt that piece of data, even if it gets lost or stolen. So it's that approach that we help organisations achieve this enterprise mobility strategy. And you know, you can start from different areas. Some organisations want to have a device management solution in place as part of a kind of a vision and a strategy moving forward. Others want to start by looking at the identity management piece. So different organisations kind of start in different stages. And in terms of credentials, Jamie mentioned earlier on, we're part of the Red Carpet programme. So this is a global programme across Microsoft. There's 24 partners globally. Our UK and our US business are two of those, a couple in the UK. And really, we're kind of key go-to-market partners for Microsoft in this space. We, as I say, recognise as the experts around identity and device management, which is why we kind of feel we can offer a great solution to our customers around this space. And we've built up a huge amount of, I guess, library and IP that we created when delivering these projects over the years that we can add value to our customers moving forward. Microsoft Gold Partner, over 700 enterprise deployments on a global basis. And also we were the authors of the Microsoft training courses around identity management kind of back in the day when they first released MIS, MILM, and FIM after that. So we've kind of been involved from a training perspective as well as a deployment perspective, which is great because our trainers have got that real world experience where they're actually out there training our customers, training people from Microsoft, but also some of our competitors as well. And recognised as kind of partner of the year in the area of identity and security on a regular basis with Microsoft. So go pick up the go-ahead for WPC on an annual basis, which is always nice. And I think, we have the track record. I'm going to talk about a couple of customers specifically later, but we've done projects with a wide variety of different shapes and sizes of organisations in different verticals. So we've kind of got the experience and also the track record to actually help you with this journey. So I'm going to talk a bit more about the kind of strategic approach to solving this problem. I think we've kind of all recognised some of the challenges that we face. It's kind of how do we solve this problem now? I think the first thing to say, there is no kind of one point solution that's going to solve this. There is no kind of silver bullet. It's about having a strategy in place. Yes, breaking it up in different areas so that you can prioritise what's important to you as an organisation, but actually having a strategy in place to deal with this kind of multi-layered issue. Am I in range? Am I out of range? Thanks, Jamie. So, first thing to say, point solutions will not solve the issue. There'll be a lot of you maybe that are looking at a device management solution. Having that implemented kind of in a silo, irrespective of everything else that's going on, is going to kind of be like a bit of a band-aid. It's not going to solve the problem. As I say, if you haven't got a solid identity platform in place, how can you control who has access to what, whether it's appropriate based on the role that they perform, and when they can access that information? You can provide a device management solution, but again, without having that strategic view, you are not going to solve some of these underlying problems.
Can I just get a quick idea? Those who are sort of 60% upwards or on their journey and in the cloud, what's the first thing you looked at? Identity management? Was it device management, or was it data management? Which was the, feel free to shout out. What was the first thing? Sorry? Data? Interesting, yeah. I actually kind of, I think that's a good one, because we'll touch on that in a second time. I agree with you. There's a bow wave of cloud movement, and you need to ride that bow wave and stay ahead of that data because of sovereignty. That's interesting. Anyone else?
Data.
Data as well? Okay, good. Okay, interesting.
It's interesting because most people kind of, I guess we speak to, are looking at it from a device perspective, but I think I agree with you, Jamie, and you guys know without the control of that data first, it's out there, and then you try and do something about it.
Unleash it.
Exactly, you've got an issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to say, kind of a strategic approach to thinking about some of these things about what's going to happen to the data, where can it be. These are the sort of discussions that you want to be having rather than just a tactical point device management solution and then deal with some of the issues that come after that. And I think the other thing is that you kind of risk functional gaps. You risk trying to integrate lots of different point solutions. You have maybe some overlapping functionality, but also some gaps. You haven't got that kind of interoperability between the whole solution, so you kind of have a lack of that. So that's why it's really important to take the strategic view and look at a platform versus some kind of tactical point solutions.
I think that's really important as well. So from being a technical person many years ago, building solution A plus solution B, you need some middleware C or something in between to make it work. That will cost. There'll be a team dedicated to connecting those pieces together. You upgrade B or you upgrade A, all of a sudden there's some cost behind that as well. So the more simpler these programs are, they integrate with each other, and the fact that technology can integrate comfortably, again, not only does it take away cost, it allows you to spend more time thinking about what the next process is as part of that journey.
Absolutely. So as we've kind of talked about, it's this complete mobility strategy that is required. So you want to think strategic, have a vision on where you're going over the next 3 years. By all means, let's break it down into manageable projects and phases, but with a view on where we're going here. As I mentioned earlier on, identity is the glue that's going to make all this work. If you haven't got a solid platform where you understand who has access to what they need to access to perform their role, and to be able to control that, all of these other bits are going to break. So it's really that complete strategy and approach that is really the way forward to solving all of these challenges.
So hands up, who in your organisation, who views your end users as people or devices? So hands up, as an organisation, do you manage people or do you manage devices as an IT function? Not HR, so I know what they manage, but as an IT function, hands up if you manage devices. Okay, one. Hands up if you manage people. Okay, good. The rest are abstaining? Not sure, somewhere in between. That's probably quite typical of what we're seeing as well. So there's a journey between, mainly, to be honest, Microsoft licensing was very kind of device-based, with the Windows license and all the way it was done about delivering stuff to a device. And now, as a user, I can now move across multiple devices. So hang on, what's the common denominator? Well, actually, it's the user, and And I was saying how last year our technology term was PCIT, people-centric IT, and that's evolved into mobility. It was very much, let's look at the user, what that user is, what do they do for their day job, how do they operate, what do they connect to, what devices they use, etc. And this, bringing it all back, is absolutely the centre of the universe, is that user and what they connect to and how their security groups and blah, blah, blah.
So as I kind of mentioned earlier, as a systems integrator, a provider of managed services, we need great technology in order to deliver those solutions to the marketplace. And the Microsoft Enterprise Mobility Suite is the technology that underpins all of our solutions and really fits incredibly well into our approach. As I talked about, hybrid identity, the ability, and I'll talk about a retail example a bit later, but specifically, there's a lot of organizations that will have a lot of non-IT workers. So there's the ability to, rather than having 100,000 users within Active Directory, you might only have 20,000 IT users, and how do you manage those other 80,000 people and allow them to collaborate and allow them to access IT systems? Hybrid identity, having that single cloud identity with Azure Active Directory to enable them to access on-premise, but also cloud applications as well. So I was talking about this single identity that enables them to access all these services. Mobile device management using Intune. Intune is a fantastic technology for managing these devices. Not only some of the core functionality that you would expect in terms of managing not only Microsoft devices, but all sorts of different flavors of devices. Things like selective wipe. So some of the guys talked a little bit about the concept earlier on in the presentations, the idea that you can kind of segment corporate data or personal data. If I've got a personal device, the last thing that I want is all my personal photos and things removed, so we've got that ability for selective wipe. And then the bit that, as we kind of talked about with a couple of you in the audience, this information protection bit, this piece around actually managing and classifying a piece of content so that wherever that resides, we know it's protected. And we have policies in place to say who can actually view, edit, read that piece of content. So it's really that combined solution using this suite of technologies that enable us to deliver these solutions to our clients.
Yeah,
Whether you've got any more on the
absolutely.
technology side.
In my world, and having engaged with a number of customers during this journey, there's something simple that I see to it. If something is simple in your organisation to do within your security and governance boundaries, people will do it. If it's complicated, they will find their own ways to do it, which are ungoverned, unsecure, cloud-based, blah, blah, blah. And I think the typical scenario would be, imagine you are on a home PC, want to create a document onto Office 365, multi-factor authentication because it's a non-corporate device, verify on my phone, I'm into that document, I'm now editing the document, I use a word, let's say confidential for example, and it synchronizes up to my SharePoint site. There's some policy in place that identifies, doesn't have to be confidential, but in this example it will be. It understands confidential the word, and therefore will automatically classify that document as medium business impact or official, depending on what levels you operate at. And then what I try and do is I try and email that document. An exchange says, sorry, we can't send medium business impact or official documents by email. What you'll need to do is you'll need to send a link, generate the link of that document stored in the cloud to that user. The user gets the link, they authenticate against their email, they then authenticate against that SharePoint site, and then they can use multi-factor if you need to get access to that document. All of a sudden, you've gone from somebody sending an offline document or creating something offline, they declassify themselves because they don't want to comply to policy, trying to send it, they can't, so they send it by Gmail or Hotmail or whatever. All of a sudden, all panic breaks loose because that document is broken outside of your realm. But actually, complying that simple process, it's very easy for the user to do, and therefore will follow that process. And that extends out to multi-factor against non-Microsoft documents. So, for example, a CAD document extending out to an iPad. It could be also authenticating against multiple SaaS applications. So Microsoft have up to around 2,450 SaaS applications we can authenticate against. And one of the things that we're finding is quite challenging is as somebody dips their toe in the cloud, 1 minute you've got one SaaS application, you turn around, you look back, and you've got 20 SaaS applications because all these different business groups now think, that's great, I'll go and buy this one, and I'll use that one. Who's managing the password reset? Who's managing the infrastructure bits that go with that? It's ungoverned, non-secured. Bob in finance is managing some SAP in the cloud thing, and someone else is doing a Salesforce thing, and hold on a minute, what happens if that person leaves? So what we can use is Azure AD Premium, actually take AD as the king. So we can say, actually, that Salesforce app that's suddenly been, we want to use that, okay, fine. So let's do single sign-on and authenticate using our AD and our central password management. which means I can then, with FIM that sits underneath it, do password resets for Salesforce through my AD. Self-service password resets from my AD to other SaaS applications. And that starts to add quite a lot of value. We all know that the biggest calls on the support help desk are password resets. The more SaaS applications, the more password reset challenges are going to start appearing. You can bring that, empower IT again, and bring that back to AD being the center. One password, one identity, and there we go, nice and simple. And you can add the two-factor stuff as well. Let's go with that.
Right. So I just wanted to kind of touch on some of the, I guess, the benefits that I guess a lot of people will be kind of aware of this, but some of the things we've touched on about this suite approach, it's that ability to have full interoperability between these components and that full integration and not leaving any of those kind of functional gaps and having overlaps in functionality as well. That kind of single, I'll return these kind of throat to choke, but that single kind of vendor, single SLAs, single commercial model as well, which can give you a very cost-effective approach as well. And having reduced maintenance costs, because now you've kind of got that suite approach rather than having to have maintenance for different point solutions that are not fully integrated. So some of the benefits of the suite approach there.
We use one back to Pat. So
one back to Pat. The positive side. Yeah, I like that. That's better. Okay, next slide. I've given up on that. So I'm going to go through a couple of customer examples now before we show you a little video we've put together, which hopefully you'll like, which kind of encompasses the whole enterprise mobility challenge and solution, I guess. So this is a college in London, St George Monarchs. So they had an issue where they were provided 350 Surface devices, and they wanted to get these out to their users, their governors, to people to actually use and kind of have ability around. They didn't really kind of know what to do, how to manage, and how to ensure they were kind of secure, they didn't lose data and all that kind of stuff. So the solution that we implemented was using a combination, I think you saw on the main plenary earlier, a combination between System Center and also Intune to provide that kind of consistent management platform, but also leveraging the organization's infrastructure. So you've got now this consistent way to manage all of these devices and ensure that everybody's got access to what they need, but also you're protecting all that data as well. And as I said there, you've got this seamless experience, which we talked about earlier. Users want a common, seamless, single sign-on experience. They don't want it to be difficult to get to the applications they need to, but we also want to make sure that's secure as well. And yeah, data on lost devices can be selectively remotely wiped, as we talked about as well, which is fantastic. So that was St George Monarchs, and they're looking at, as I say, kind of they're looking at the other aspects now as well. As I say, it's not just we're going to do device management and forget about everything else. They need to look at that whole kind of strategic approach. The other one is, you might recognise them, but I'm not allowed to say who they are, but a large retail business, 12,000 stores, about 160,000 users. So they had a slightly different challenge. So they are implementing a SharePoint intranet as part of an Office 365 rollout, and they wanted to have a way to communicate and collaborate for all of their users. So they had around 20,000 IT workers, so traditional headquarter workers, and about 148,000 transient workers, store workers, shop floor workers that didn't actually have an AD account. So in terms of communication, you can't just send an email out because obviously they can't ever get access to that. So we've implemented a Azure Active Directory for them to give that cloud identity. And it means now that we're also implementing Yammer as the social media collaboration tool. And so now all these users have one cloud identity, synchronizes with the IT workers with their Active Directory account, and enables the organization to collaborate and get feedback from all of their users. So as I say, all staff now have a secure and easy way to manage this portal, irrespective of whether they have an AD account or a cloud identity, and they're able to share information and collaborate. And it's laid a foundation for kind of managing identity to the future. So as they deploy more and more SaaS applications, as Jamie was mentioning there, they've got this infrastructure now where you have one password into your Azure AD portal, then you can layer on SaaS applications at the back there, which users need no knowledge of those passwords. So when they leave, as you rightly say, that's just one identity to remove. There's no individual passwords they have to manage at the back end. So it's a great solution for that sort of organisation where you've got a lot of non-IT workers.
So this is really interesting as well, because we're uncovering new users within organisations that wouldn't normally have had access to all these functions and features. I kind of call them extremity workers. They have an HR payroll number, maybe they have their name and address, and that's it. They're on a payroll. They could be cleaners, they could be contractors, they could be external staff. And as Nick mentioned, how do you optimise the engagement with these users? You can't just ping them an email. You want to give them access to a portal. They can check their timesheet app. They can connect their calendar in. They can start getting timesheeting processes where they can opt in for a new shift, or they can see how much they've closed this or done that. And those portals are really key. But to do that, you need to have the identity. It goes back to being the identity is the absolutely critical component to being able to mobilise these members of staff, and then getting rid of all that paper process that typically sits behind engaging with these members of staff.
Okay, so I'm going to show a little video. Hopefully it will what you should just be able to knock down on it, Jamie. It's integrated. You should just,
Yeah.
okay, so you go down it.
So your company's just received all of its new fandangled, snazzy mobile devices, ready to propel your workforce into the mobile world. The freedom to work anywhere, at any time, on the device of your choosing. It should be an exciting time. Then, this happens. IT technician Graham faces having to load up one software management tool onto the laptops and another for the mobile devices. Salesman Mark is trying to remember the endless passwords required to get through to the company cloud applications. Bright graduate Nick has realised your company is not as mobile as you'd initially suggested.
You promised me I could work from my room.
Whilst creative Lisa has missed a vital deadline following the loss of her company tablet.
I'm so sorry. Can you meet my something for a moment?
Meanwhile, the group of data thieves celebrate as they access all of your company information from Lisa's stolen device. Of course, there's a world where things could be different. A world where Graham could install and manage all devices through one unified system. A world where single sign-on would allow Mark ease of access to thousands of company SaaS applications. A world where stolen devices can be wiped remotely, where Lisa could access her project through her personal device. And Nick, well, Nick could work in the manner that he wanted, proud to be part of a forward-thinking company. This world isn't as far away as you think. In fact, it can be brought to you today by Oxford Computer Group, solving your device and mobility challenges with Microsoft's Enterprise Mobility Suite. Contact us today to find out more about the most cost-effective way to unify and manage your mobile world. Oxford Computer Group, helping you stay in control.
So that kind of encompasses, I think, in a kind of nice little way, kind of the whole challenges and kind of the whole approach to solving these. Hopefully you kind of found it a bit fun and a bit kind of comic. But I think it brings it all nicely, some of those different use cases. This is kind of what we're talking about. It's being able to address all of these challenges and actually provide a solution that's going to give people access to what they want, when they need it, to perform their roles, but also ensuring that you have that security in place. So it's kind of dealing with that security quandary, I guess, in a world that is mobile. It's happening, so we need to address it. We've got to do something about it. And I suppose maybe finishing up a little bit early, but we'll take a load of questions. We've got a booth out there. Jamie's on a booth out there for Microsoft. We're also having a drink across the road after the event. If anybody is interested, you should hopefully see a little flyer on your thing. If you want to go away and look at the video again and again and again, we've got a QR code, so please click on that, show everybody, and that will take you through to our website to have a look. And the other thing you will have as well is you'll have a card there for an event we run with Microsoft every year. It's our annual summit. It's in Thames Valley Park in Reading at Microsoft's European headquarters. It's a 2-day event, 8th and 9th of October. We'll be going into things in much more depth around enterprise mobility and identity and device management. We'll have some nice devices for you plate and all that kind of stuff. So encourage you to take a look at that, go to our website and register. We normally get about 200 people there, so it's a pretty good event for networking and hearing from people from Microsoft. We have people from the product group from Redmond coming over, so it's a great opportunity to liaise and network those guys as well.
Any questions or?
Yeah, the educational exam for UK.
Yes.
Was there a cloud element to that? So I think what I was interested in knowing is, could I link our internal AD system, SECM, and Intune without actually having to have a cloud solution in place to support our mobile workers?
I think the answer is yes, but I want to get somebody a bit more in the know about that specific example than me to absolutely clarify that. So I'll put you in touch with a guy called Matthew Richards, who's one of our service leads who was involved with that deployment. So I think the answer is yes, but I don't want to mislead you. So if you can give me your contact details, I'll make sure we get clarity on that for you.
I've got a question back actually. Is there a reason you wouldn't want a cloud coming to it?
Well, we have a private cloud. Reason being the sensitivity of the data.
Okay.
Until you guys win your court case with the American government, I think a lot of us have a lot of concerns about the use of public cloud.
So I think there's two levels of concerns. One was the accreditation that the UK government CSG has now hit, so there's official IL2 capabilities now within. There's also partners that can host G-Cloud, for example, or accredited cloud effectively. So hybrid cloud, to be honest, if you have sensitive material and you're on that journey, to have a hybrid cloud where you would choose to store your more sensitive data in your private cloud, but utilize the buying power of cloud capabilities of multiple servers, consumption, that kind of stuff in data centers, then I think that's probably the approach to look at, explore how you can move data based on the cost of SAN, cost of storage locally versus the cost of storage up in the cloud. So the legal side of things, obviously, that won't be. I'm not going to handle that.
No.
But it will, from how we operate, hybrid I think is something that a lot of organisations are looking to do as a more general approach to handling sensitive data, certainly. And we've got a number of reference cases that we should be announcing shortly, I think, to go through that.
In terms of that question about customer, yes, they did have a cloud element. They chose to have Office 365 and they used that. In terms of data, the management of the device, there's an identity for the individual in terms of the cloud, but the data they used, they could either have corporate data on their personal device, it's either from their corporate network or from their cloud network. It was a choice of wherever. But the right, the management and everything else is a same solution, whether it's cloud or whether it's held on their own server. So it's their choice of memory. But they was a balance.
Questions?
Any questions or comments?
Everyone like what they see with EMS? Sound interesting? Those who went to the cloud first, you find you did it point-by-point solution. So you found, when you were talking about tackling the data, you found a data management solution, then you found a device management, and then you found, and now you're trying to put it all together, or if you found a way, or is that something you're looking at now, is trying to align those strategies? Is that something you're looking at? Or still looking? Still looking. Okay. That might be worth exploring what the EMS capabilities can do then. For example, the simplest way I look at this, whether you use Office 365 or another cloud provider for your data and emails, etc. If you use Office 365 as the example, you buy one user license of Office 365, you get 5 devices you can run it on. Any device, Windows, non-Windows. Well, actually, EMS offers the ability to manage those 5 devices per user-based license. So it simplifies it again. I know you don't often hear this, but simplified licensing from Microsoft is the new direction. We are working on this. Something we've heard loud and clear for the last umpteen years. So one SKU, the idea is EMS takes care of all of that, the data moving, the device management, and capabilities around identity risk as well. So I'm pretty excited at what this can do as we move forward and what the next generation looks like as well. So if you want, I'll be hanging around after the minute. If you have any other questions you want to answer more personally, then feel free to come up and ask.
As I say, we'll be in the gallery, I think it is, which is right next to the tube station, so I'll have you stop off on the way home from 5 if anybody's interested to chat. Thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.